My dream house was finally finished, and I was so excited about the new life we were about to start. As I looked around our new home, I imagined all the wonderful things that were ahead of us. There were so many changes I wanted to make, and I was eager to begin. Just then, my in-laws showed up unexpectedly. "You're such an unreasonable daughter-in-law," they said. "We're going to live here from now on, so you need to move your parents somewhere else." I was shocked and confused. I asked my husband what was going on, but he just sighed and said, "That's how it is. I'll tell your parents." Before I could say anything else, my in-laws walked into the house. I took a deep breath and calmly said, "Do you understand whose house this is?" Let me introduce myself. My name is Donna. I'm 35 years old, and I work for a company. I've been married to James for 5 years, and we have a 4-year-old son named Adam. Adam acts very mature for his age because he's been raised around adults. Raising a child can be tough, but spending time with my son makes me happy. However, I do have one worry. My elderly parents are struggling with leg and back pain. After thinking about it a lot, I talked to my husband about the possibility of having my parents live with us. "That's a serious concern," he said. "It would be a good way to repay them for everything they've done for you. If it makes you feel better, Donna, I don't see any problem with it." "Really? That's great. Thank you, James," I replied. I was so grateful to have such a caring husband who agreed right away. So I started planning for my parents to live with us. But it wasn't easy. My parents' house is far from the city, which would make commuting to work difficult. We couldn't use a car to commute, so living there wasn't a good option. At the time, we were living in a small rental apartment that was only big enough for the 3 of us. It wasn't practical to have my parents move in with us there. After thinking it over, I came up with an idea. "James, I've been thinking. How about we build a new, bigger house? Maybe now is the time to take a bold step." James agreed right away. "That's a great idea. Let's build a comfortable house and live there together." With his approval, we started planning for the new house. First, we talked to my parents. They were hesitant at first, saying they didn't want to be a burden. But I explained that as Adam grows, our current home would eventually be too small, so it made sense to build a new house now. Once they understood, they finally agreed, and I felt relieved. After that, my husband and I were busy visiting real estate agents. We wanted a house near a hospital for my parents and close to a train station for work. We also needed a barrier-free environment because of my parents' mobility issues. My husband and I worked together to find the perfect location and design for our new home. Finally, all the preparations were done, and we placed the order with the contractors. It took a lot of effort and time, but we were proud of what we had accomplished. Now, we just had to wait for the house to be completed. Thinking about our new home made me excited and motivated me at work. During those exciting days, my in-laws heard about our plans and often contacted us. One day, my mother-in-law called and said, "I heard from James that you're building a new house. Is that true?" "Yes, that's right," I replied. "It's scheduled to be finished by the end of the year." "That's exciting. James has grown up so well, and we're so happy. We'd love to hear more about the new house. If you have time, please visit us." We had been so busy that we hadn't visited my husband's parents in a while, so we decided to go see them that weekend. When we arrived, they welcomed us warmly. Building a house is hard work, but it's also a lot of fun. Having your own home is a dream come true. "Congratulations," my father-in-law said, as happy as if it were his own achievement. I was touched and smiled. "Thank you. It was tough, but we're really excited about it. I can't wait for it to be finished, though I'm a bit worried about possible mistakes. Still, I'm thrilled about our new house." We were always excited and talked happily about it. Suddenly, my mother-in-law clapped her hands and asked, "By the way, what's the layout like?" I showed her the floor plan on my smartphone. "Oh, it's quite a big house, isn't it?" My in-laws commented, "Isn't it too many rooms for just the 2 of you?" We're planning to live with Donna's parents, and we also wanted extra space in case we have another child in the future, my husband explained. Surprised, my in-laws asked, "You're going to live with Donna's parents?" "Yes, that's right," my husband replied. "Donna's parents have been getting weaker, so we decided to live together. That's why we're building a new house." I noticed a change in my in-laws' attitude as James explained. Later, I realized this topic might not be very appealing to them, so I tried to steer the conversation in another direction. "By the way, how have you both been feeling lately? Any changes?" "No, not really," they replied. "Everything's about the same as the last time we met." But soon enough, the conversation returned to the new house. "I want to know more about it," my mother-in-law asked. "Which room will Donna's parents use?" "We're thinking about this area here," James answered, unaware of the tension. However, when we talked about living with my parents, my in-laws seemed unhappy. It felt like they weren't pleased with us prioritizing my parents. Although I felt a bit unsure, I knew that the main reason for building the house was to care for my parents. I hoped my in-laws would understand that eventually, but it was clear they weren't too happy. As time passed, the house slowly neared completion. Every time I visited the construction site, I eagerly looked forward to the day it would be done, while also paying close attention to the details. My parents visited the site several times too, and I could see how happy they were. It made me realize how rewarding it was to do something for my family. However, there was one thing that bothered me. Recently, James had been spending a lot of time with his parents, visiting them every weekend. "James, are you going to your parents' house this weekend too?" I asked. "Yes, I am," he replied. "You've been visiting more often recently," I noted. "I'm trying to be a good son like you, Donna. Now that our new house preparations have settled down, I should visit them during the holidays." "That's nice, you're very kind, James. Maybe I should come along with you," I offered. I was concerned that my in-laws might feel neglected, and I worried about their health. I thought I could help, instead of leaving everything to my husband, but he shook his head. "I'm enough by myself," he said, and went to his parents' house alone. I told him that if he needed any help, I would join him, and I believed he would call me someday. Finally, our new house was completed, and moving day arrived. We packed our things into the car and headed to our new home. The new house was even more beautiful and grand than I had imagined. I was so moved that I gasped. The new house of my dreams was finally completed, and I was thrilled about the new life we were about to start. As I looked over our new home, I imagined our future. I was excited about all the new things I wanted to do. I pictured my family having barbecues in the spacious garden, with my son and husband playing there. My parents were stuck in traffic and would take a while to arrive. "You can go ahead and wait inside," James suggested, but I wanted to enter the house together with them. I was about to say, "No, I'll wait here," when suddenly my in-laws arrived. I was surprised. Why were they visiting? They got out of the car with big smiles. "This house is really magnificent," they said. "It's something to be proud of." "That's right. We planned it together with Donna," my husband replied cheerfully. "Donna has great taste," they added, and I thanked them. Then they started unloading heavy bags from their car. Surprised, I asked, "What are these bags for? What are you doing?" My in-laws gave a shocking reply. "Of course, we're bringing these bags into the new house." "What?" I was stunned. My mother-in-law sighed and said, "What an unreasonable daughter-in-law. We're going to live here from now on, so move your parents somewhere else." I was in shock. "What are you saying?" I asked, but my mother-in-law just shook her head and crossed her arms. "A daughter-in-law should respect her husband's family. It's only natural for us to live in this new house. Now hurry up and contact your parents. We need to put our luggage down," she demanded. Struggling to understand, I looked at my husband for help, but he just sighed and said, "That's the reality. I'll tell your parents." "Wait a minute. What are you talking about? We built this house to live with my parents. Please don't be so selfish," I protested. My husband sighed again. "You still don't understand. You should just serve me. Your parents will manage somewhere else." I clenched my fists in anger. My husband had clearly been influenced by his parents. Maybe his true nature was only now becoming apparent. "Stop standing there and help with the bags," his parents ordered, confidently entering the house, even though I, the owner, hadn't stepped inside yet. Their behavior infuriated me. "This place is wonderful. The decorations are beautiful and luxurious," my in-laws said as they inspected every corner of the house with joy. My anger reached its peak. I coldly asked, "Do you understand whose house this is?" In a good mood, my in-laws turned to face me. "Whose house? It's James's house, of course. You think it's shared property between husband and wife? How audacious of you to claim this house for yourself when you're being taken care of by James." Both my father-in-law and mother-in-law criticized me harshly, not giving me a chance to speak. It became clear that they didn't know about our financial situation. It seemed James hadn't explained anything to them. It's unnatural for a house built by James to be shared with his wife. Such a presumptuous daughter-in-law is rare. I pity James for having a wife and in-laws like this. They continued to criticize me based on their misunderstanding. Finally, I reached my limit. I stared at my husband and his parents. I understand your point, but if you all really intend to live here, then James will need to reimburse me for my investment in this house. At that, my in-laws tilted their heads in confusion. How much money did you actually contribute? The amount you're talking about must be trivial. Why make such a big deal out of it? They said, laughing. I glanced at my husband, who remained silent, his mouth firmly shut. Filled with anger, I blurted out, "Why are you silent? It's unbelievable that you would hide something so important." Pressed, my husband fidgeted and avoided my gaze. At that moment, my mother-in-law demanded, "What are you trying to say?" My husband looked pale with fear, and I realized I couldn't expect an explanation from him. I decided to clarify myself. In fact, the funds for purchasing this house were all paid from my savings. Therefore, this house is technically mine. As I revealed this, I saw my husband's pale face. It was as if he had held his breath. I continued, "If you want to live here, you need to repay the $330,000 used to build this house immediately." My declaration shocked my in-laws, leaving them speechless. They turned to my husband, pressing him in a panic. "James, is that true? Is Donna really the owner of this house?" Faced with their questions, my husband had no choice but to admit the truth. Actually, Donna purchased this house. She is very capable and already holds a managerial position. Her salary is significantly higher than mine. "But James, you've been working at your current job for a long time, right? You graduated from a prestigious university. You should be earning a high salary," my in-laws insisted. My husband, having a high sense of pride, must have been spinning the story to suit himself. However, even he couldn't hide his disturbance under the relentless questioning from his parents. "Actually, I recently made a big mistake. I almost got fired, and my salary dropped to the level of a new graduate," he finally confessed. Shocked by this revelation, his parents were left speechless. My mother-in-law murmured softly, "I can't believe James would end up like this." My in-laws quickly ran over to me, their previous rude behavior seeming like a lie, and apologized profusely. "Donna, we are truly sorry for what we said earlier," they pleaded. "Please forgive us. Could you possibly allow us to stay here?" "What?" I looked at them sternly as they both pleaded at once. Seeing this, my husband also became desperate and pleaded, "Please, it was wrong of me not to explain. Can you forgive us and allow us to live here?" Responding with a calm voice, I said, "No matter what you say now, I cannot forgive you. This house was purchased to live with my parents. If that cannot be fulfilled, there was no point in buying it. If you insist on staying here, you must immediately pay $330,000. How can we possibly come up with such a huge sum?" my in-laws responded. "Then you must leave," I stated firmly. When I refused, my in-laws began to cry and clung to me. "Please don't say such things. We've sold our home and have nowhere else to go. Donna, please forgive us. Please allow us to live here with your parents too." Unbelievable, I thought. A household where a couple lives with both sets of parents is unheard of. No matter the reason, it's impossible. If you sold your house, you should use the proceeds to find another place to live. As I declared this, they began to cry simultaneously. My father-in-law pleaded with a trembling voice, "To tell the truth, I've recently made huge debts through investments and gambling. We've used up the proceeds from the sold house and the retirement money, and now we have absolutely nothing left. We're retired, can't find work, and my wife has never worked outside the home. You're all we have left, Donna." Their expectations were clear, but this situation stemmed entirely from my father-in-law's actions and had nothing to do with me. "You should rely on your proud son. I have no obligation to support you financially, so unfortunately, I cannot help. However, we are legally a family, remember that. Regrettably, it is impossible to continue living with disrespectful parents and a husband who neither prevents illegal occupation of my property nor stops demanding it. Therefore, I have decided to divorce James." At my firm declaration, my husband weakly pleaded, "Wait a minute, divorce isn't something you can just decide like that. Please don't say such things, Donna. I'm sorry, but I've reached my limit. Please leave this house immediately." Faced with the possibility of divorce, my husband was clearly shaken and, along with his parents, repeatedly pleaded, but my decision was firm. I cannot tolerate them staying in our house without permission for an extended period. If you continue to stay, I will call the police. My firm declaration made my in-laws choose to leave the house hastily. Nevertheless, my husband argued, legally, I am still your husband and have a right to reside here, but I could not accept his claim. If you continue to stay here, I am prepared to take legal action and have you removed. Are you really okay with that? During this conversation, our son, who had been napping, woke up and entered the room. Then he unexpectedly said, "If it goes to court, Dad will be in a really tough situation." Hearing our son's innocent remark, my husband must have felt even more anxiety and desperation. Already at risk of being fired due to mistakes at work, the potential of getting involved in a legal battle greatly increased his chances of dismissal. Quickly grasping this harsh reality, my husband, with a pained expression, hurriedly gathered his belongings and quietly left the house. Just after that, my parents arrived for a visit. Noticing that my husband was nowhere to be seen, they were initially shocked. As I explained everything that had happened, they gradually showed warm smiles and expressed their gratitude. "You've stood up so strongly for yourself. Thank you. We're proud of you. You are a wonderful daughter," they said. Hearing their words, I felt a release from the anxiety I had been carrying for a long time and finally regained peace of mind. I had hoped that my husband would understand and accept the situation, but that was a wish unfulfilled. Perhaps escaping from a family that belittled me before things escalated further was actually a stroke of good fortune. The in-laws who had insulted me called repeatedly a week after I drove them out, but I decided not to respond to any of their attempts. According to some information, after losing their home, my in-laws are barely surviving in a poor quality apartment. Eventually, my relationship with my husband officially ended, and the divorce was finalized. Due to his workplace failures, he was transferred to a different region and is now living a challenging new life. Meanwhile, every time I see my parents enjoying the sunshine in the spacious garden of our new home, I feel truly happy. Although things didn't turn out as planned, we are leading a peaceful and joyful life in this beautiful house. As a single mother starting a new life, I am convinced that raising my child in this stress-free environment is far better than the co-parenting I previously endured with my ex-husband. I am committed to doing everything I can until the day my son grows into a fine adult.